Hey guys, I've recently been looking at the difference between feminine FE and masculine FE, as well as feminine TI and masculine TI. So I'm trying to just sort of understand what's going on because I have masculine TI and feminine FE, and it just seems so backwards to me how other people with that other coin are doing things. But at the same time, it's so similar, you know? I thought I'd take a look here with what I'm seeing and trying to process for this and share it with you guys. So what I have is a comparison here between Jon Jones and Simon Cowell. As you can see, these are almost the exact same 512 type. The only coin that's different is the masculine versus feminine DE. Simon Cowell here has feminine TI and masculine FE, and Jon Jones has the masculine TI and feminine FE. I just have a brief summary here of kind of what I'm seeing and what we'll be looking for in the clips I'm going to pull up. So for Simon Cowell, the values of the tribe are what is concrete and clear. So he kind of needs to move himself to be seen as good within the eyes of the tribe. I'm kind of seeing masculine functions as sort of more black and white. I'm either good or I'm not. You're trying to like work your way into what's considered good. Whereas with masculine TI, Jon Jones sees the values of the tribe as fluid and uncertain. They're kind of like moving around. It's not really clear what's going on. In the masculine DEI's head, they need to sort of push on themselves to be seen as good within the eyes of the tribe. They need to sort of stand out in some concrete way. They need to be sort of a pillar that the tribe can like move towards. That's sort of how I'm sort of seeing it anyway. So I hope we can sort of see that as like a small split there and try and see that in these clips I'm going to pull up. All right, so first I have a clip from Simon Cowell's interview with Dan Rather. The video quality is super bad on this clip. I apologize for that, but I thought the conversation they had here was really good. So let's look at this.
You know what's said about you on the negative side. So let's start with a few things. Say to me, Dan, what you don't know about Simon is he's really greedy. Not the first time you've heard that.
Greedy. I'm not greedy. I'll tell you what it is. Because you said to me a while ago, I must have made a lot of money when I first did Pop Idol or American Idol. I mean, the truth was I got paid nothing on the first series of Pop Idol, and I got paid not much more than nothing on the first show of American Idol. Once the show became successful, my feeling was if you're making a lot of money, then so should I. I mean, it's just fair. You can't have it all. Right. If I'm having a part of this, the bill. I don't like meanness. No. But I've always been very strong about being paid what I believe I'm owed.
All right, so with Simon, you can see that it's sort of like a clear distinction. He's either greedy or he's not, and then he's sort of like giving his reasons why it's true that he's not greedy. He pulls up the sort of like the facts here. He wasn't really paid that much early on with American Idol, or sorry, Pop Idol, but as the series progressed and they started to make quite a bit of money, he felt the need to push on the tribe to sort of get paid what he's owed. Now, let's compare that to a clip with Jon Jones. I was lucky enough to find Jon Jones talking about a similar idea where people were kind of calling him greedy, and let's see how he responds in comparison to Simon Cowell.
I think that eventually the UFC will realize that they're being stubborn. They'll realize that they do have a special athlete in myself, and I think they'll realize, I think they'll eventually meet me halfway.
So you can see there, Jon Jones is kind of letting them come to him. He's letting them see the truth that he is the significant person. He's worth it, and they should sort of come to reason, right? So they're moving to what he has already rationalized for himself, that he is worth this amount of money, and that they should come and see that for themselves, right?
I'm not asking for anything outrageous, and I know we're in a pandemic, and I know when you're a multimillionaire and you're asking for more, it makes you seem like this greedy person and all these type of things. I'm very aware of all this, but I'm also very aware that I have the voice and the platform to make change. Most of the guys who are doing the absolute worst are not in a position that they could say publicly, I have a second job. I'm borrowing money from my parents.
Right.
I know so many fighters that are living in the Jackson's MMA gym because they can't afford to have their own apartment. And they're UFC fighters.
And they just fought.
So this is sad. And if I have to have a bad relationship with Dana, sit out for 2 years, 3 years, to bring light to what's happening.
So you can see Jon Jones is kind of like very stable on his certainty about how this is working, how this is all coming together. And he's trying to get the values to sort of shift and see like, this isn't working for these guys. And we need to look at how we're evaluating what these fighters are worth. So he's presenting a argument in terms of what works and just saying like this isn't working and we need to realign the values, we need to move the values, and he's not pushing on those, he's just kind of saying like this is the truth, you need to sort of shift and move towards this, which is a little different from what Simon Cowell was doing in terms of going like, no, I'm not greedy. He's sort of setting like the clear line and then giving the reasoning behind that. All right, now I want to look a little bit at the language difference between masculine FE and feminine FE. Simon kind of uses some more like harsher terms like battle and things like that. You can really see like how people are hitting each other in that masculine DE space and sort of trying to make room for each other. I like to think of it recently as like musical chairs. You either have a spot or you don't, so you need to kind of like fight for your spot. That's one way I've been conceptualizing what masculine FE is doing. So next, Dan Rather asks Simon about his relentless honesty, the way he kind of tears people to shreds on his talent shows and lets them know they have no chance of surviving. He's really conveying how he wants to be clear with people where they are on the spectrum, how they're going to be seen by others. He wants that to be sort of clarified and clear for people. So let's see how he explains that here.
Have you always lived your life with this relentless honesty?
I think so, yeah. I mean, when I was young, Dan, I got into the music business via the mailroom, and you kind of hustle your way, into the main part of the record company or the music publishing company as it was in those days, and you try and work your way up. And the interesting thing is, it's a business where they invest millions and millions of dollars, but they give you no training. So, when you screw up, and I did in the early days, I mean, I was told in no uncertain terms why I'd made a mistake, and I was taught tough love. And in return, I try and do the same thing back, because the worst thing you can do is, particularly when I do a talent show, if somebody comes in with absolutely no talent whatsoever and absolutely no chance of a career, I think it's a crime to say to these people, we'll take a couple of singing lessons and it will all work out, because it just doesn't work out that way.
Simon feels sort of this responsibility to share where people are being evaluated on the spectrum. It's clear to him what's valued and what isn't, and who's measuring up. He's basing this off of his own personal experience and what he knows about what works and what doesn't in the music industry. In this next Jon Jones clip, as a comparison, you can see how Jon Jones kind of lets Scott here know, the guy on the left, where he sort of fits on the spectrum in sort of like a joking, sort of like more indirect way. I see this as a good example of sort of what feminine FE is doing in comparison to masculine FE, being very clear about where you are on the spectrum. That might sting because of how hard they're sort of hitting with their words and saying like, no, you're not cut out for this business. Feminine FE instead does things like this, where it's sort of like gentle ribbing. It's like, oh, this is kind of where you are, it's like, and kind of know that, right? And you're sort of like more indirectly sort of poking people and seeing where they are in the spectrum.
But I want to preface me talking about any UFC fighter. I am well aware that they can fuck me up at any time. And so I hate talking about them.
Very easily, Scott.
I just hate being like
Scott.
Judgmental about it, because I'm like, bro, these guys will just fucking kick my ass. So I just don't want to come off as talking shit.
No, it didn't come across that way at all. And I do appreciate you having respect for the fighters. A lot of fans give UFC fighters shit for a lot of different things. And at the end of the day, man, we put our lives on the line to be entertainers. You understand that?
Sure. I mean, it's a real small moment here, right? But this is very much what I see like feminine FE doing. It's like lightly tickling people instead of just like punching them, right? So that's sort of like this subtle difference between how feminine FE and masculine FE is sort of establishing where people are on the spectrum.
There's always a certain amount of leeway that I'm going to give fighters for certain things. It's a lot that goes into what we do.
Especially the keyboard warriors that just fucking...
Dude, they talk, man. But
you ever seen one of them in person? You're like, I know you, dude.
No, never in person, no. I've had maybe one or two people flat out tell me in person, I don't like you.
Why do I face to face?
Yeah, it's maybe happened once or
You're
twice.
probably drunk.
In over a decade, yeah. And they're usually alcohol involved.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
For sure.
But I'm learning to really appreciate haters, because a hater is a person that is emotionally involved. They care.
So in that clip, you can kind of see Jon Jones sort of processing how he feels about the keyboard warriors, people that are kind of like lambasting him on the internet and sort of trying to tear down his value. But he just kind of like lets it roll off his back, right? He doesn't feel the need to sort of push back on that. He's just kind of going, they're like not even in their right minds, you know, they're not seeing things clearly. So he's trying not to let that bother him too much. So again, that's sort of like this feminine FE, feminine DE, sort of letting things kind of flow around you and just sort of solidifying where you are and pushing on yourself rather than allowing the tribe to really push on you. So as kind of a juxtaposition here, I have Simon talking about how he works to satisfy sort of the tribe's opinion of him, how he sort of sets up a wall to make sure that he is measuring up in the eyes of the tribe, working to be relevant.
To do what I do, the only thing that bothers me is whether or not I'm relevant any longer. Because I think if you're sitting on these shows, but you're not having hit records or hit artists in your real life, I think you look a bit of an idiot. So that's all I really care about, Dan, is that I can sit on one of these shows and justify why I'm there, because in my day job, I am creating hit artists. Otherwise, you're just a judge for hire, which I just couldn't do.
So you see there, Simon's going like, I don't want to be seen as this. I want to be seen as this. I want to be a relevant producer who's on these shows, judging people, letting them know that I know how this works. I know how to produce something of value, and therefore I can tell you if you're valuable or not. I know the spectrum. People can see where I fit on the spectrum. So he's trying to be clear about where he is by sort of proving that worth consistently in a way that others can see, right? So it's out there, it's clear, direct. Look, I did this. You can see it, and that kind of goes to the SE thing a little bit too, probably. With he's got proof, sensory proof that I'm worth being on this panel.
This was after you'd had success on Idol, but Idol wasn't your program. X Factor is your program. You had a tough time selling it. You sell it, you get a one-time shot. By the second week, you knew that your new baby was going to take off.
You said it better than me. It's exactly what it was. And there was a lot of knives out there that second week.
Nice.
And I could feel them about to go into my skin. And it was a real moment of relief, Dan, when that happened. Because if it had gone the other way, it wouldn't have been great. And, you know, the truth is, particularly in Hollywood, you do something wrong, you are toast. People do not want to touch you. They're superstitious. If you fail at something, as far as they're concerned, you failed for life.
You've become typhoid, Simon.
And by the way, I get it. When we do something wrong, I say to my company, just be clear, no one's going to want to talk to us for 6 months.
Right.
So don't worry about it. Don't take it personally. Just use this time, come back with another hit. You have another hit, everything's reversed.
So in this clip, you can kind of see this sort of masculine DE demon feeling. They're going to come after you. They're going to lay a value down on you. All you can do is try and race and push against that and produce something of value. You need to sort of push something out externally and sort of build up your walls to protect yourself. I think this language, this kind of stuff with knives and your toast, being clearly labeled something and not something else, this is the kind of stuff I'm seeing more from the masculine DEs. Things are very clear in terms of the tribe, where that they fall within the tribe.
I actually hate going to the cinema. I went the other night. I mean, it was just the worst thing I've ever done.
But you're in the movie business now, big time.
I am, but I don't like going into movie theaters. We watched this movie the other day. I mean, I've got to tell you, watching 10 minutes of trailers in 3D with these stupid glasses, and everything looks identical, and then the film comes on. After 15 minutes, I had to walk out. I mean, it was like being assaulted.
This is another thing I'm kind of seeing with masculine DEs, where they're sort of really clear about what side they lay on, right? Like, I don't like movies. Like, this is like a clear boundary for me. I'm not interested. So he kind of has his internal reasons, right? But he's just kind of letting you know, like, this is something I hate and I have my reasons, but don't really ask me about it. I'm just not interested. That's just going to be a more common pattern that you see from masculine DEs, just like sort of making it clear where they stand on the spectrum. All right, so in this next clip, Devo talks about how the walkout music is a really big deal. Jon Jones used this Queen song.
I've made mistakes. I've had a few.
And Stevo thought it was like a really good fit for him, and he's kind of talking about how it sort of affects his mood before the fight, and we'll see how Jon Jones is processing that.
The walkout music is just such a big deal in setting the tone for the fight.
Yeah, I try not to be too superstitious about music and little things like that. Just in case if something doesn't go your way, say the music stops. Or
John's trying to be clear about like how this works for him, like how he goes about picking a song, because he doesn't want it to affect his mental state. He doesn't want to make it too big of a deal. Here he's being really like firm about his DI, like the way this works for him. What's his process look like?
You're always able to get it on no matter what state, so.
Right. Okay. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I don't hang on to the music too closely, but every once in a while I'll try to put subliminal messages in the song that I choose, but I don't allow it to affect my mental state.
Dude, I just thought that Queen, that was the only time you used that Queen tune, right?
I've used it a few times.
Oh, okay.
I've used it maybe 2 or 3 times since the first time.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but it's a relatively new thing.
It's great.
I appreciate you paying attention.
Dude, I texted you, right?
See, this like feminine DE, like, oh, good. Thanks, man. Like, this is the kind of like soft connecting that feminine DE is doing, but masculine DE is not. It's like really wanting to be more clear and direct about what it's doing. Like it's almost like he's like flirting, The feminine FEs probably get that a little bit, like where they're interacting with people. It seems more like flirting. Do you guys think I'm flirting with you? Hey. So yeah, I hope you guys were able to get something out of that. I'm thinking about doing one of these for Savior. I'm thinking about doing one of these for Savior FE next, to kind of do a comparison there. Maybe I'll do Viola Davis and Oprah, because they're, I believe, the exact same type ENFJs, except Viola Davis is masculine FE and Oprah is feminine FE. So that could be fun to look at and as another comparison in the Savior versus Demon state. Let me know if you guys like this format of video. I've been thinking about doing like more in-depth comparison videos like this as I try and formulate these understandings for myself and really pull up some ways that seeing and able to sort of track and look for these patterns in actual conversations, get some of that SE out there to sort of back up the theory understanding behind it. How do we actually take these ideas that we're learning and apply them to actual people that we're seeing and able to type? So if you like this, leave a comment, make sure to hit the like button, and I'll see you next time.
I was so impressed.
Bye.
I've made mistakes. I've had a few.